Good morning, students. Good morning, students. My name is George Bawe. I'll be taking you citizenship education. We'll be looking at the citizen, who is a citizen, what makes you a citizen, and different ways we can be a citizen of a country. And last week I gave you an assignment, and most of us did very well, and some of us submitted a blank book. Please, those who submitted a blank test, you please go and rewrite and submit it. And with the assignment was very simple: get the first page, the first chapter of the Constitution of Nigeria, and summarize it. Then already we have the past constitution in Nigeria, how the past constitution came into being, and we see the colonial era where the British that came to colonize us, and we also look at the Constitution of Independence, how it became independence, and how we are being ruled by Queen Elizabeth. And we also have 1963 Constitution, the First Republic, where we have independence and others. And 1979 Constitution, the Second Republic, and this Second Republic brought about which abandoned the Western minister system in favor of the American system. And in favor of the Americans, we talk about the presidential system. And I want to tell you today that one of the biggest problems we've been having is about the presidential system, which is very costly. And even in America, this presidential system is not done the way we are doing it. The power is just up there as a ceremonial, and authority and power is given to all the states. And that is why you discover that the Constitution of the American is not very big. It's a very small pamphlet like that. Like, just know your rights, you know your rights, you know your obligations, and everything. But in Nigeria, we spend so much. Now, in a country where you spend 25% of your total budget, that is too much for just minor people. There is too much. So I think there should be a review of that. Then we have 1993 Constitution. This constitution was intended to see the return of democratic rule to Nigeria with the establishment of the Third Republic, but was never fully implemented, and the military resumed power until 1999. Then 1999, we have the Fourth Republic. That is the 1999 Constitution restored democratic rule to Nigeria and remained to today. In January 2011, 2 amendments of the 1999 Constitution were signed by the President Goodluck Jonathan, and the first modification since the document came into use in 1999. But with all the Constitution and everything, I think it pays more people, different people, than some other people. The Constitution is just like, seeking and playing us off. But today we are looking at chapter 4, which is the government. The government. Who is the government? The term government refers to the act or the manner of governing a nation. It is a system through which a society, state, and nation are governed. It is also a body of persons governing a country and ensure the security of the people it governs, among other things. Now, government is not enslavement. It's not enslavement. It's not keeping you quiet to say you should not say anything. Government is about governing us, leading us, giving us policies that will lead us to greatness, that will march the country forward. Now we look at the arms of the government. We all know that we have 3 arms of the government. We have the executive, we have the legislature, and we have the judiciary. Now, the executive are the arms of the government that implements the law. They implement the law as the fundamental policies in the country. They make the law. It is led by the president, who is supported by the vice president, who were both elected on joint tickets by the electorate. And also the president performs his daily executive function by working with the minister and other officials, and he chooses to work with the president, the vice president, the minister, and other government officials are members of the executive council. They meet from time to time to move the nation forward at the federal level. Governors, deputy governors, commissioner, and other governors, government officials perform executive duties at the state level, while the chairperson, councillor, and other officials are in the charge at the local government level. It is arms of the government that perform administrative duties. They perform the administrative duties. The executive exists and cooperates with both the legislature and the judiciary in true spirit of federalism. The three of them, they are really meant for check and balance, that one should not go above the law, or one demolished, brought back down below the law. Every of these people, these three arms of the government, they are very effective and they are very powerful in their own way. Like, for example, the legislature can have a vote of no confidence on the president. And once that happens, the president is looking for impeachment, or he has to step down. And once he steps down, the Senate president takes over from him. Now we look at the legislature. The legislature is the lawmaking arms of the three arms of the government. Now you need to understand this, that if the law is being made, somebody has to pass the bill. Somebody needs to pass the bill that's in that very place. And once the bill is passed and it passed through the first, second reading, then the next thing is they vet it, if yes or no. And if it's yes, then they pass it to the president to look at it and sign it into law. Then they sign into law. Now it's made up of elected members of the political party, such as senator into the Senate, also called the upper house. The Senate are also called the upper house, led by the state, the Senate president, deputy Senate president, and other officers. And the honorables member of the House of Representatives also are called the lower house, led by the speaker, deputy speaker, and other government officers at the federal level, as well as the member of the various states House of Assembly, led by the respective speaker. The initial policy, proposal called bills is called bill, which become law when they are approved. Now, what happened is this: the bill, once somebody will sponsor the bill at the Senate, at the senatorial level, and once he passed the bill, now people, they vet it. Once they pass through the first reading, the second reading, and they put it into vote. If they pass it in, then it becomes, they send to the president and they sign it into the law. When they are approved and signed into law by the president at the federal level and the governor at the state level, they help the executive arm give good governance in ideal federalism. Now, you need to understand this today, that the constitution of the country is the highest constitution. It's above any law, it's above any precedent, above whether you are judiciary or you are in the legislative arms of the government. The constitution of the country is bigger and heavier than everybody, because when any case that need to be referred has to be referred back to the constitution of the country. Now look at the judiciary. The judiciary is the third arms of the government. It interprets the law. Now don't forget, the people who make the law are the legislature. They make the law. The president signs it into law, and the judiciary, they are the one that interprets the law, made by the legislature, and explain what the constitution says on every issue during judgment, persecution, and proceedings among that through judges, lawyers, and other people who are very knowledgeable in legal matters. It is other functions, including settling disputes and preventing abuse of content of the constitution by the executive, the legislature, even the judiciaries. It also makes a check and balance on the judiciary also, and other highly placed individuals, also called sacred cow in the society. Now, you need to understand that these three arms of the government is needed if we are going to march the government forward. But the problem we are having with Nigeria is that these people, I don't know if they are effective or not effective, because since some of them have even entered the senatorial seats there, they've not even passed a bill. They've not passed a bill. They've not even defended any bill. And sometimes I'm always laughing, because when you watch them on the telly, either they are sleeping or while some other, and they are very few. They are very, very few. Sometimes and they have a way of defending each other. And you can't march a country forward, and we are paying them so much. The budget, our budget is 25% of what we have in the budget. That's 1/4 is passed to them, and that's crazy. So it's regarded as the law hope of the common man, and to get justice and fair treatment. The judiciary is headed by the judges who are appointed by the president on the advice of the Judicial Service Commission. The judiciary does not depend on the executive and legislature. It's used the Supreme Court, Appeal Court, High Court, Magistrate Court, but the problem we have, like the last time we were talking about this issue, the problem is that the judiciary have not been given a free hand to run. They have not been given a free hand. They are being manipulated, and that's why we are having a problem with the judgment in the country. There's so much problem in judgment because they don't have free hand. The president is still controlling them, but in other states of the world, it is not done that way. It's not done. You see that the people, the judicial. I love, like I used to say it, I love America, not because America is the best, but no matter how big you are, you submit to the constitution. Whether whatever is holding you, you have to submit. And once you don't submit and you are corrupt, once you step down from the seat, you go to prison. People will take you up and you go to, because the judiciary, they are independent. They are very independent. Nobody's sponsoring them, and that's where they make their money. And you need to understand. Now let's look at the symbol of authority and office within the various arms. Each arms of the three arms of a government has its own symbol, which shows its authority, significance, and power. Such symbols are used to conduct their various activities from time to time. The following represents the symbol used by each arms of the government, and we need to understand it. And also the individual functions. The executive, you have the national flags, the coat of arms, and seal are important symbols that are put into use whenever the president of government is making a speech or performance official function. You see the flags of Nigeria standing at the back, and you see the coat of arms or the seal at the front of the podium of the field that is using to talk to people, because that's the authority. Now, one thing you need to understand is that once they steal the flag from him and steal the seal, he's just like ordinary person, because that's the authority that is holding him. Now look at the legislature. Under the legislature, we have the mace and we have the gavel. They are both important symbols used in the effect. Now, have you ever seen, you've watched the television sometimes when they are having problems, they are fighting, and they carry one stick that has the coat of arms on the head, and you see them running with it. And those who have it are the one that is leading, or they are not. Yes, that's the mace. That's the mace and the gavel. They carry it, and anybody, if you fall into any hands of anybody, now once the mace is carried up, everybody respect the mace. They respect the mace. Why do they respect? They are both important symbols used in the effective proceeding of the state senate and the House of Representatives. The sergeant's arms, at arm bears the mace to herald the arrival and the signal the departure of the senior president and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The gavel helps restore law and order, draw the attention of members of the National Assembly to an issue, and confirm decision amongst other functions. Then we look at the judiciary. Under the judiciary, the symbol of authority, judiciary, are wings. You see the wings, those my lawyers' wings, or the scale of justice. That scale of justice is, you see that man or that woman standing, and he has one the sword in his hand, and he has the other the law book on his hand, Quran on her hand, and you see it holding it like this. That's what we call the scale of justice. You see it is balanced. It's not down, it's not up, it's balanced. That means everybody is equal. They help prove effective performance of judicial duties in courts and during legal affairs. Now let's look at the unique points to note. The government refers to the act or manner of government a nation, governing a government a nation, or governing a nation. So government refer to the act or manner of government of governing a nation. Now, two, the executive, legislature, and judiciary are the three arms of the government. Well, number three, each arm of the government has its unique function specified by the Constitution. Now, this Constitution, I have told you, is the most powerful book we can ever have in a country. Very powerful. It talks about the law, defined it, and if there's problem, you go back to the Constitution to get it. And that's why you discover that they are trying to manipulate the Constitution severally. Then five, each arm of the government has important symbol of authority that signifies its relevance, authority, and the power. So when these things are held, you see the relevance, we have the authority and the power. So you need to understand, anytime you are standing and anytime the president is standing, you see the national flag at the back, you see the coat of arms, and on the podium where he's talking to the people. Now let's look at functions and power of each arms of the government. The Constitution clearly and distinctly specify the functions and power. Each arm of the government has the following power and function. Now let's look at executive arms of the government. The executive arms of the government perform the following functions. One, maintain law and order. They maintain law and order through the police, the army, the air force, the navy. They maintain law and order. Then we also have some paramilitaries also. We have paramilitaries who are supporting the people, like the Nigerian Defense Corps, and they help also to maintain law and order. Take, for example, when the million boys, 1 million boys, when they came out and everybody was afraid. You can imagine how the military, the army came up and they kept them quiet up to this moment. Well, they may be operating in other places, we don't know, but for in our area, everywhere is quiet because there's law and order. Now, two, it initiates and submits bills to the National Assembly for deliberation and consideration. That they pass bills to the National Assembly, the National Assembly vets it, passes down to the lower house, which is the lower house, which is the House of Rep, and they look at it, and then after a long deliberation and it is read, first reading, second reading, or third reading, they pass it back to the president. Okay, we have confidence in the law. Let's sign it to law. The bill, let's sign it to law. Then three, it also perform quasi-legislative function by exercising delegated or power, issuing statutory order, vetoing or giving assent to bills passed by the National Assembly. What we mean by that is that there should be the vice president. If the president is not around, they might delegate power to him, or the president cannot go to a program or a meeting, they can delegate power authority to him to go and represent the president. And if he goes there, everything, the flag, the national flags is given. Now, you need to understand when it comes to delegated authority, if there's delegated authority, a president can ask anybody to represent them. And if he goes there, he's being represented by the national flags and the coat of arms. Then four, it represents annual budget. It prepares the annual budget, recruit civil servants, maintain disputes in the civil service. They prepare the annual budget. And that's why now the annual budget is not just at the presidential alone, that are doing the administrative work. It could start from the reps. They do all these things together and pass it to the Senate. Senate now look at it. If they are not okay, they can send it back to the president. And there are some things that are included that they don't need. But our senators, all that they want is just everything that goes to their pocket. And that's why we can have a stable Nigeria. And you can imagine the issue of this outbreak, because there's no good law and pass an order. You can imagine. And I believe if it is something they can leave this country for another country. I know many of them would have flown out to go to such country. So, well, that's their way of doing things. Number five, it creates employment opportunities. The federal government creates employment opportunities. Now, in those days when we were growing up, we had this federal employment uh, office that you go there, submit your this thing, and they somehow get people that will employ you. 6, it provides social amenities to make life meaningful for its citizens. Social amenities, food, well, all these things. The issue is this: do we have anything social amenities? Even most especially with the pandemic, a lot of people they want to go out because the palliatives are not there for us, to enjoy. Then we look at established relationship with foreign nations. Now, this federal government established relationship. There are so many countries, like for example, the way dollar is hitting our naira is really hitting it below the belt. And right now, I don't know, maybe a dollar is just to about 350 or to 400 naira. No, that is why you see relationship is getting worse with America, and Nigeria is going to pitch war with the Chinese people just to see. But there's very, very dangerous, very dangerous. Now we look at the established relation with the foreign nations. Then we look at the formulates and implement policies that control citizens and guide the overall administration of the state. They formulate policies. Now, some of these policies sometimes are passed as bills, and after the first, second reading, they are passed to law by the president. Then we also see they perform the quasi-judgment, the quasi-judicial function through the power given to it. Now, the word quasi means similar or something like that. Function through the power given to it by the Constitution to grant amnesty to criminals or reduce the jail terms handed to convicted person by the court. The act is called the prerogative of mercy. That means they give the people, some time, some they pass the bill. I mean, they release them from jail terms. Then we look at the legislative arms of the government. Legislative arms of the government perform the following duties. 1, it makes laws through legislative process. They make law through the legislative process. 2, it gives approval to the appointment of judges. Approval to appointment of judges. That is the minister, ambassadors, special advisor. Now, when the president writes the names of the people, the judges, the minister, they pass them down to the upper house, which are the Senate, the senatorial house. They pass it to them, and once it gets to them, what they do is that they now go through the reading and possibly pass it to law. Then the president signs them into law. Now, also, it checks the excess of the executive, abuse of constitution, among others. They check the excess. Maybe the president is going above a supposed way of doing things. Then we have problem. Then we have it has the power to impeach the executive if the executive is guilty of an improper conduct. Now, I told you that they can pass vote of no confidence on the president and all his ministers. And once they go through that, the president has to step down. The president has to step down. Then it can declare as state of emergency in the event of a serious incident or breakdown of law and order that is a threat to the peaceful coexistence of Nigeria. So they can declare state of emergency on Nigeria. Then we also look at the judicial arms of the government. The judicial arms of the government. And the following activities are carried out by the judiciary. 1, it interprets laws made by the legislature. Now, every law passed by them, they bring it down to the lower house. They call it the lower house, and they interpret the laws that have been passed. Then 2, it helps in respect for the rule of law. There must be respect for the rule of law. Once the law is passed, everybody has to obey and follow the rules of law. Now, 3, it provides a platform for a redress in the event of disputes, controversies, and conflicts that could threaten the peace and stability of the country. Now, they have to address that. If there's dispute in one community or the other, they have to pass a law. They have to send people to go and talk to them. Then 4, the fourth one, it stipulates the punishment meant for offenses as specified by the Constitution. It stipulates the punishment meant for the offense, for punishment meant for the offenses as specified by the Constitution. So what we are saying is that if you err in whatever the Constitution already said, they tell you the punishment that is meant, and all these things they are already in the Constitution. Then we look at check and balance of government. That's what is balance, check and balance of the government. The Constitution states the duties of each arm of the government. This process is popularly known as separation of power. It implies every arm knows where its power starts and stops. The essence of checks and balance is to prevent dictatorship. One, encourage mutual respect among the three arms of the government, promote good governance, and discourage the abuse of privilege. Some of the check and balance, supported by the Constitution include: one, legislature controls the executive. It may refuse to approve or modify budgets that they feel is not in favor of the citizen. Now, we can always think about that they have authority to not approve the budget of the federal government. They may not pass it law. Now, we see something like that in the era of President Olusegun Obasanjo, when the senators refused to pass it into a bill, that no, there's something wrong with it. And the government was there, and it served for about now, some of the check and balance supported by the government. The legislature controls the executive. It may refuse to approve or modify budgets that they feel is not in favor of the citizen. Sister, the legislature has the power to check the misconduct and violation of the constitution of the executive through impeachment. Oh, it's like having problems. Through impeachment, the legislature has the power to check the conduct, to check the conduct of the government. You know that the legislation has the power to check the conduct and violation of the constitution of the executive through impeachment. So if the legislature are not satisfied with what the federal government is doing, they can always pass vote of no confidence, and they can impeach them. They can be impeached. See, the judiciary has the constitutional power to overrule and declare as illegal any action of the executive. The Supreme Court can overrule the law passed. The Supreme Court can overrule the law that is passed. Then by the National Assembly, Senate and House of Representatives, that is already signed into law by the President. The executive is subject to judiciary because the Constitution gives power to the court on legal issues. It is the arbiter in conflict between the executive and individuals or corporate bodies. Its decision on legal issues are finally and binding. Then the next one is the Constitution empowers citizens to resist the abuse of their fundamental human rights by public condemning government policies which disrespect them. The activities of these citizens sometimes attract international backlash or condemnation that put pressure on the government to rescind the decision on this. Now, if you look at the unique point to note, one, the Constitution clearly states the function of each arm of the government. It states it, the arms of the government. Then two, the separation of power, which is also known as check and balance, prevent violation of Constitution amongst other things. Amongst other things. Now, I want us to write this assignment. The assignment is, now we have this chapter 6. We have this chapter 6 about the security of Nigeria. My question is this: states if Nigerian security system is effective or not effective. States if Nigerian security system is effective or not effective. Why? That's the assignment for you. States if Nigerian security system is effective or not effective. Why? Then you send it to my mail, to my Gmail, joba2804@gmail.com. joba2804@gmail.com. Joba is GEOGBA 2804@gmail.com. So please, you should send it to me. Some of us, we have not really done our assignment. We have not sent it. Some of us are very few that have sent assignments. And any assignment you are sending, before you have to send before the next class. If not, it will not be recorded for you. And you know it's very important. That's 35%. You are losing just like that. Now we look at the chapter 5. This chapter 5. The nature and the structure of Nigerian federalism, nature and the structure of Nigerian federalism. Federalism before independence. It was the adoption of the Littleton Constitution of 1954 that set Nigeria on the path of federalism. The Constitution provides for a division of power between the central authority and the three regional governments. Some items were reserved for only the federal government under the executive list. Such items include foreign affairs, currency, immigration, customs, mining, railways, major road, and communication. Other items were for both federal and regional government under the concurrent list. They include the industrial development, public safety, health, and indigenous relation. Others were reserved for only the regional government under the regional list. Then items include primary and secondary education, local health service, minor roads, and local government. The civil service and the judicial service were organized. The Constitution maintained a unicameral legislature. Only the House of Representatives at the center. The region sent representatives mainly from the three political parties. The Federal House of Representatives was composed of 184 direct elected members on the basis of single-member constitution. The North had 92 members, the West 42, and East 43. Southern Cameroon 6, and Federal Capital of Lagos, the 2 members. Then the Federal Capital was in Lagos, and in addition to the legislature, there was a Federal Council minister drawn from the member of the House of Representatives. The regional legislature in the West and the North are bicameral, consists of a House of Assembly and a House of Chiefs, where the East had a unicameral legislature, consisting of only the House of Assembly. Then, after the Constitution Conference of 1957, the West and the East gained regional self-independence, and the North in 1959. The 1957 Constitution confirmed, but brought about many changes in Nigeria federalism. It provides for a second chamber at the center called House of Senate, thus changing the legislature from a unicameral to a bicameral one. Similarly, each of these regions now has a bicameral legislature. The head of the region was to be referred to as a premier. Now, what we are saying is that Nigeria was divided into 3: the North, the East, the West was divided. But after some time, now then we have a figurehead, one person that's just a figurehead. That's the prime minister, who is a figurehead. All the other people run. And I think we should go back to that system, which is one of the things that should be helping the federal government. Then we have the federalism in Nigeria, 1960 to 1965. Then that is Independence Constitution, which came into effect on 1st October 1960, operate the parliamentary system of government based on the principle of federalism. It provides for a bicameral legislature, both at the federal and the regional level. The Constitution provides for the office of a prime minister, who was the head of the government. Now, you need to understand that then we don't have the president, we have a prime minister. We have a prime minister who is always at the head of the affairs. Now, who runs is just like an era person, and the era person, because all the people, it was developed, shared into 3, then later became 6, then later began to expand. Later we change it. Now we will begin to run the true federalism, where every state begin to pick up. Then we have the first prime minister was Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, who was the first prime minister we had. And there was the office of Governor General, and the Governor General then was Nnamdi Azikiwe, was Governor General. The 3 regions were headed by regional prime premiers. All these judges of the Supreme Court and High Court were appointed on the advice of the Judicial Service Commission, consisting of the judges. However, all the cases of final appeals were referred to the Privy Council in London. They take all the orders. That was before 1960. That were approaching for the independence and others. Then in 1960, Nigeria became a republic, and a new constitution was enacted. The new republic and constitution provide that a president should replace the governor general, and Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe became the president and head of state. Thus, the Queen of Elizabeth ceased to be the head of state of Nigeria. The new constitution also abolished the right of appeal from Nigeria Supreme Court to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council in London. Then, any appeal in Nigeria before the 1963, every appeal in Nigeria has to pass through, to go to the Privy Council, in where Queen Elizabeth is in charge. So everything has to be decided. Our life has to be decided by Queen Elizabeth. In addition, there was the creation of Midwest region on 13 August 1965, which increased the number of regions to 4. Now, formally, we have 3: the North, the East, the South, and the North, the East, the South, and the West. Now we have Middle West, where we have the likes of Delta State that came out of them later. Now, federalism in Nigeria, that's 1966. We will not be able to really go on this. I just want to go and look at that, which we will look at in the next lecture. And Nigeria had the saddest with many problems, was recruited for the imbalance between the North, East, West region. The Northern region had majority of seats in the parliament. Then by next week or so, if by the grace of God, when we come back, we are going to look at the federalism in Nigeria. That's from 1966 to 1979. So we stay here, and if you can also do it, you are free to do that. And I know that by next week, if God tarries, we'll meet again. Don't forget the assignment. State if the Nigerian security system is effective or not effective. Why? Send it to my mail. Then we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Thank you so much. So please pass the assignment to my mail. Thank you. God bless you. Oh, it's a pause here. Hey now.